3 months ago, it looked impossible, but the Indiana Fever just accomplished something. For the first time since 2015, they are currently 4 games over 500. Even without Caitlin Clark on the floor, they succeeded. However, that is not the startling aspect. They just set 4 franchise records in a single game against Paige Bueckers and the Dallas Wings, despite everyone expecting them to struggle without their star player. However, this is something no one anticipated. The protagonists of this amazing tale are 2 players who weren't even on the roster at the beginning of the season. What were the 4 shattered records, then? Here's a clue. Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Howard, Kelsey Mitchell, and newcomers Aari McDonald and Chloe BBY were also involved. If you agree with the Fever, hit the like button and leave a remark that reads, "I've got the fever. Let's move on." The 100 defeats Phoenix. That was a major win, according to Stephanie White. Danny Mitchell. No, Tasha Howard's former Dallas wing. This was not sought after. Kelsey Mitchell was probably going to shoot. But right there is the play to be made. The passing lane was empty. Without Caitlin Clark, everyone thought the Fever would go away. But instead something amazing occurred. Imagine this on August 1st. Due to a groin injury she sustained on July 15th, Clark has missed 6 consecutive games. There is no schedule for her return. After losing 8 of their previous 10 games, the Dallas Wings, led by Paige Bueckers, are eager to win when they visit American Airlines Arena, home of the Mavericks. There was actual pressure. Without their great player leading the team, could the Fever continue their winning streak? Consecutive victories, a season high. Precisely how? During this time, have you been able to establish that rhythm? I believe that we have been practicing, and I believe that this has helped us get more familiar with the specifics. Before all began, we were aware that the second half of the season is always about people adjusting and finding ways to halt what we need to do. And I believe that in order to get where we need to be, we try our best to stay focused during practices, shootouts, and other events. Everything you needed to know about the mentality of this Fever team was disclosed in the opening tip. They acted as though they had something to prove when they first appeared. Without hesitation, without waiting for someone else to take over. This was not going to be a game about survival. This was to be a declaration. Kelsey Mitchell took control right away. She deliberately attacked the rim, made bold shots, and set. Mitchell led the club with 23 points on 9 of 19 shooting, absorbing the burden that Clark typically bears. The tone said, "We're not backing down." For the whole month of July, she was the league's top scorer. In her 9th year, she has 14 20-point games this season. Mitchell exchanges the 3, and she also has a handful of 30s. Possess a slight edge in the paint, and they must continue to do so. Mitchell kept it from DJing when she tried to steal it that time. Would not, let's say, have accepted the call so tactfully. Last year, however, Kalani Brown served as her buffer. Is Mitchell completely screwed up? Thus, you remain united and speak defensively. This offensive unit has a lot of energy. A lovely pass. After passing it, Mitchell ran down the other end since she was so certain of it. Paige Bueckers, however, had no intention of rolling over. The rookie sensation responded with 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 22 points on 7 of 14 shooting. She demonstrated why she is regarded as a 3-level scorer in her maiden WNBA season by being the only Wings player to score in double figures. Fans were glued to their seats as a result of the back-and-forth conflict that resulted from this. But this is when things start to get interesting. The stats from the free throws revealed a contentious narrative. Indiana made 13 free throws, while Dallas made 25. It's nearly double. On social media, fans hurried to criticize the officiating and accuse Bueckers of stumbling to draw fouls. After the game, even Wings head coach Chris Claines voiced his displeasure with the officiating staff. Flock is nearly identical. Carrington's spin maneuver. No foul call. DJ Jane was the source of the actual catastrophe. Carrington, the player that is currently the most improved, had a terrible performance. 5 turnovers and only 4 points. Fans shook their heads when she dribbled up court and made a misdirected shot in the last minute of the 3rd quarter. Her difficulties had a significant role in Dallas' demise. You must go up strong right there before you can go to the basket here. Don't be afraid to defend yourself since they will receive. Out in transition. Additionally, Kelsey Mitch is doing her job. Up in Dallas, Indiana. The scoreboard showed Indiana up 88-78 at the final buzzer. With 4 players attempting to keep up, the Fever had just demonstrated that they are far more than Caitlin Clark. As Coach Stephanie White admitted following the triumph, they demonstrated that they could win the games they were expected to win. Going on some scoring spurts is one approach to find methods to win. That is the ability to depend on a number of players. Getting stops when necessary. Making changes and, developing further. After all, this is a team that has shown resilience throughout the season, and I believe that we have enough quality depth to be able to rely on one another at critical points. The Fever's hidden weapons are 2 players who weren't even on the roster 3 months ago. Get to know Aerie. McDonald and Chloe BBY were unexpected mid-season additions. These were hardly high-profile hires. They weren't meant to make all the changes. They served as insurance plans and depth moves for a club looking to maintain its competitiveness. Adhere to your defensive stance. On the attacking end, this Indiana squad is extremely agile. 3 more are rattled by McDonald from the outside. Her third of the ball is that. The story of McDonald sounds like it was written for a motion picture. At the beginning of the season, she was unsigned. Her services were not desired by any team. After being with the club for a few weeks on a hardship contract, the Fever phoned on June 25th with an offer for a contract for the remainder of the season. In this game against Dallas, she is leading the offense as if she has been there the entire season, scoring 15 points and dishing out 6 assists. This occurred immediately following her career-high performance. She demonstrated her ability to manage more significant situations versus Phoenix in the previous game. Cunningham completes the pass after she should have looked up and asked, "Oh, aren't you an Aller?" Indiana excels at that more than any other WNBA team. What made McDonald's unique that evening is as follows. Her instincts as a point guard came into play instantly. She was aware of when to pick up the pace, when to slow down, and how to engage colleagues. Coach White immediately recognized this, claiming that McDonald understands her influence on the game and has a point guard mentality. Because she stood up when the team needed leadership the most, Kelsey Mitchell referred to her as a blessing in disguise. Yes, Aerie's dependability is, in my opinion, her greatest quality. She is trustworthy, if not always for productivity. She knows how to make a difference in the game and comprehends the impact she may have. Pushing the pace, beginning it defensively, setting the pace, going to the rim, setting up shots for her teammates, etc. She also possesses extraordinary awareness. As a result, she knows when she's attractive and how to make someone else feel the same way. But I must say that I've been incredibly proud to watch her confidence in our system increase and the responsibility she's taking on as our floor leader. Chloe BBY, on the other hand, released a comment right away. She played a few minutes off the bench and made 2 important 3-pointers. Those shots weren't fortunate. They were well-timed momentum boosters that allowed the Fever to subside. Other players were able to move around the floor because to Bibby's ability to stretch it. Her rapid assimilation into the system was commended by Coach White, who said she knew how to make plays and was prepared to shoot when the chance presented itself. Okay, let's say Boston bounces back to Mitchell. McDonald divides the D. This is her strong suit, BBY. She has done it for that lovely jumper and is able to extend the defense. Bueckers once more. Another game with double digits. There are 6 in the quarter. BBY is here burying the 3. Don't do it that way, baby. This is where things start to get interesting, though. BBY got a contract for the remainder of the season after just 2 games with the team. In those few minutes, the Fever saw enough to decide to stick with her for the rest of the season. She highlighted a particular need that White had pointed up, pointing out that we haven't had BBY's shooting skills and that she is a stretch forward. Today, you gave Chloe Bibby a representative 6-season deal. What exactly about her throughout that 7-day period and the 2 games she participated in impressed you? The first is just the way she immediately blended in. She gives. Her ability to stretch the floor gives us a fresh perspective from that forward position. Oh, and she was able to help us in 2 games in particular where we really needed to make room for AB to work inside. She entered and immediately became familiar with the system. She has produced, and it was just such a smooth transition. The Fever's greatest winning record since 2015 was largely determined by these 2 unknowns. The point guard was supplied by McDonald. They were in dire need of leadership. The entire offense was made possible by the floor spacing that BBY provided. These guys instantly grasped their tasks and performed them without hesitation, which is why Coach White's method worked. Without Clark, the Fever weren't just getting by. Because players like McDonald and BBY filled roles they weren't initially signed for, they were prospering. But that night, they weren't the only ones who made history. The Fever were quietly smashing records that had never been broken in franchise history while everyone else was watching the scoreboard. In a single night, 4 distinct accomplishments took place. These performances weren't just good. These were historic events that changed the scope of what this team was capable of. This is the first one that took everyone by surprise. The first ever WNBA teammates to record at least 10 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in a single game were Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard. Take a moment to consider that. No 2 teammates have ever combined for those totals in a single night in the WNBA's history. Boston scored 12 points, pulled down 11 rebounds, contributed 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. She was matched by Howard, who finished with 11 points, 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. Observe the attention Boston receives. For the guards, it opens up a lot. This is Boston. There was nothing Becker could do, not a rebound. Howard, in addition to her 9 points, that is her 9th rebound. Boston is served a lovely dish. Here, we'll share the basketball. To Boston, just a tiny dump. Tarrington rolls to the hole, he says. You have to go up strong right there, Howard, even though you were rejected to the basket. Let's focus on Howard's 16 rebounds in particular. For her, it was a career high. As if she were competing against high school athletes, she controlled the boards. With her 11 rebounds, Boston's double-double streak reached 5 games. Although she has been reliable throughout the season, this effort demonstrated her ability to step up when the team most needed her. Howard Boston at the hoop received that pass outside. Haley Jones is a foul. To get her off the basket, you can't relocate her geographically away from the lane. There was a difficult rebound. The guile shooter will emerge. Lee URU will arrive. That's not all, though. Following the All-Star break, Kelsey Mitchell now leads the WNBA in the number of 20-point games. She scored 23 points against Dallas, her 13th game of 20 points or more this season. Even when other players falter, Mitchell's consistent scoring threat keeps this attack going. The 100 defeats Phoenix. That was a major win, according to Stephanie White. Danny Mitchell did not have Natasha Howard, a former Dallas wing. This was not sought after. That is the play to make right there, but we believe Kelsey Mitchell will shoot. The passing lane was empty. This is when things start to get interesting. In her first 3 games with a Fever, Chloe BBY made several three-pointers, setting a franchise record. She made 2 three-pointers, and they weren't merely good shots. They created history. In their first 3 games, no other Fever player has ever made multiple three-pointers to begin their career with the squad. The 4th record. Aari McDonald owns it. In Fever history, she became the 3rd fastest player to amass 150 points and 50 assists. Tama Catchings and Caitlin Clark are the only players on that ranking who are in front of her. For someone who wasn't even on the roster 3 months ago, that's elite company. McDonald's ability to both score and assist has been essential in his job as a point guard. For us, we have to win games whenever we have the opportunity to truly position ourselves to do so. Any competitor, I believe, is aware that when we say win them, we took a small break today, and I believe we also took some time off. And I believe she is referring to that. It was not consistent. We could have done a little better, in my opinion. This wasn't luck, as evidenced by 4 records in a single night. This was a team discovering who they were and demonstrating what they could achieve with everyone's help. They possessed unprecedented front court supremacy thanks to the Boston-Howard combo. Previously, Mitchell delivered the reliable scoring blow. BBY instantly expanded the floor. The big fireworks happened after the final buzzer, but McDonald led the offensive like a pro. You obviously signed a full contract with this team just in the middle of the season, Ari. Congratulations, but only consider the entire effect of AR. Oh, how do you feel? It's really unbelievable. Like this is our unintended blessing. We never fail to express our gratitude to her. Really. Fever supporters had been expecting for a subtle message from Kelsey Mitchell's post-game remarks. After their historic victory, the locker room was a hive of activity. After setting 4 records in a single night, the players were still feeling great. Mitchell approached the microphones with assurance that came through in every word she said. What she said appeared benign at first glance, but there was a more sinister plot developing. When certain players were unavailable, Mitchell commended her teammates for stepping up and taking over. She emphasized Ari McDonald's efforts in particular, stating, "This is our blessing in disguise." That statement takes on a new meaning when you take into account the recent roster changes. Our season was, well, all over the place with, the team members, the individuals that it takes a lot for a professional to step up and, be where her feet are and to step in and fill in shoes that, a lot of people don't expect. She wasn't on the team, had 2 injuries, and wasn't around as much because of them. And I believe that Eric's admiration for me and the other players stems from the fact that she simply understands the chemistry and where people are. And I believe that in order for us to win her over, we must continue to give her pats on the back because this is a significant role to play and I believe she's doing incredibly well. A shout out to you then. Thank you. This is when things start to get interesting. Mitchell subtly poked fun at Dana Bonner's exit from the team when he said that McDonald was a blessing in disguise. Prior to this season, Bonner had a fever wave, which allowed them to sign Chloe BBY and retain McDonald. Mitchell's admiration for the new members implied that the team felt freed as a result of the modifications. Further exploring McDonald's influence, she said, "We always tell her that we appreciate her seriously because our season was all over the place and it takes a lot for a pro to step up. Be where her feet are and fill in shoes that not a lot of people expect." This was not merely a compliment for McDonald. Mitchell was expressing his recognition of the improved team camaraderie brought about by the new roster structure. The team's us versus the world approach is clearly paying off, according to coach Stephanie White.